Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Olivia from Pet Circle, and today we are talking about how much and how often to feed your puppy. In this video, I'm going to explain and guide you through working out how much and how many times a day to feed your puppy according to their breed, size, and age. Firstly, it's important that you are actually feeding your puppy a balanced diet. There are some big differences between adult dog food and puppy food. And puppies definitely should not be fed adult dog food, as this will lead to nutritional deficiencies and a host of health issues, including poor growth, developmental and musculoskeletal deformities. Puppy foods have a higher calorie content to meet the energy demands of growing puppies. They are higher in protein and fat than adult dog food, and they have specific calcium and phosphorus levels for optimal bone growth and to prevent skeletal abnormalities. These nutrients in the correct proportions are even more important for large and giant breed puppies. So if you have one of these breeds, then make sure you are feeding a diet designed for large and giant breed puppies. Some high quality puppy food diets that I recommend include the Hills Science Diet, Royal Canin, Advance, and Pro Plan. So before we go into how much and how often to feed your puppy, let's look at everything we need to get started. So we need our puppy food, and we have both dry and wet food here, and I'll talk about mixed feeding in a little bit. We have our measuring cup, and we have a few different bowls as well. When it comes to bowls, there are small, medium and large size bowls to suit the size of your puppy. You can judge this by the size of your puppy and their breed. For example, for a Cocker Spaniel puppy, you might want to start with a small bowl and then move up to a medium bowl as they grow up a bit more. Stainless steel bowls tend to be the most hygienic, but ceramic bowls are a good option too. It's important to clean them and discard them if they have any cracks or chips in them. Some dog breeds are prone to a condition known as GDV, gastric dilatation and volvulus, or bloat, which is a twisted stomach and can be caused by eating too much too quickly. This typically affects deep-chested breeds, including Great Danes, Dobermans, German Shepherds, and Boxers. For these breeds, and for dogs that tend to gorge and eat really quickly, especially Labradors, slow feeder bowls are the best way to go. When we are trying to work out how much to feed, it is actually going to vary a lot according to your puppy's age, breed, and size. But thankfully, there are feeding guidelines on the product bags to help determine how much your puppy needs to be fed according to their age and size. Puppies are growing rapidly, especially during the first 6 months of life. So it's important to weigh your puppy ideally weekly or at least every 2 to 4 weeks to ensure you are feeding them the right amount. Now, many of the food brands will have their own measuring cup that goes with the food. This is super helpful because if you know your puppy's weight, then you can just look at the feeding guidelines and scoop the amount needed with the cup provided. However, the measuring cups do vary between the different brands. So if you don't have the right cup for that food, then you can use something like the M-Pets Poppy measuring scoop with built-in scales, or you can use any cup and kitchen scales to weigh the food out in grams. Okay, so let's work out how much we need to feed, let's say a 4.5 kilo puppy. And I will check my feeding guidelines here and then look down at the weight, so 4.5 kilos. So that would be 1 2/3 of a cup. I'm gonna use my own measuring cup. So I've got the amount here in grams and it's 175 grams. And I'm just gonna scoop an amount into here. Perfect, I've got 175 grams. So that's the amount that I need. I'm gonna pour that into the bowl, and then I've got the right amount of food that I need to feed my puppy. Now, you don't have to feed your puppy wet food if you don't want to, or if they are already enjoying the kibble, but it's not a bad idea to include wet food into the diet. Feeding both wet and dry food provides your puppy with some variety and some different aromas and textures to enjoy. Wet food is really palatable, making mealtimes even more appealing, and it's really hydrating as well. If you add in wet food, the easiest way to do this is to do half-half of your dry food and your wet food. So when you look at the feeding guidelines, you want to feed half the recommended amount of each, and you'll have feeding guidelines on your wet food and your dry food. If you prefer to offer less or more dry or wet food, then you can adjust accordingly. For example, if you wanted to feed 3/4 dry and 1/4 wet, then you can just calculate 75% of the dry feeding amount and 25% of the wet feeding amount that's recommended on the guidelines. However, doing half-half tends to be the easiest. How much you need to feed your puppy is going to depend on their age. The younger the puppy, the faster they are growing, and hence the more food they need to sustain this growth. Young puppies can also be prone to low blood sugar, and so they need more frequent meals to prevent low blood sugar episodes. As a general rule, I recommend the following. From weaning to 3 months of age, feed your puppy 3 to 4 times a day. From 3 months to 6 months of age, feed your puppy 3 times a day. From 6 to 12 months of age, feed your puppy twice a day. And then from 12 months of age onwards, you can continue feeding twice a day, or you can move down to 1 meal a day. For large and giant breed puppies, continue feeding twice a day until they are 18 to 24 months of age. From the get-go, it's important to create a consistent 12-hour routine. This means that all your puppy's meals are roughly in a 12-hour window, and ideally at the same time each day. This is important for a number of reasons. It sets up good digestive health and bowel regularity. It helps to ensure your puppy receives the right nutrition daily, and it's important for your puppy's mental health too, as dogs thrive on routine. For example, if you're feeding twice a day, aim to feed breakfast at 7 a.m. and dinner at about 7 p.m. Or if you're feeding 3 times a day, you could feed at 7 a.m., 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Dogs mature at different rates depending on the breed and expected adult size. As a general rule, puppies should be transitioned over to adult dog food at the following ages. For small breed dogs, at 7 to 12 months. For medium breed dogs, at 10 to 12 months. For large breed dogs, at 15 to 18 months. And for giant breed dogs at 18 to 24 months. So I hope this video has been helpful in clearing up how much and how often to feed your puppy. For more information, you can always check out our article online available in our vet hub at petcircle.com.au.